And I can take a dick, 'cause you know I need it. It really ain't fair, 'cause you know I mean it. You got all of me at just one time. Stay here with me, we'll be fine. Yeah, yeah.
Good evening and welcome to the WODU Basketball Hours, starring myself, Nick Vaughn, aka Numbers.
And Mitchell Brown, aka Mitch B, aka Mitch B TV, aka whatever you want to call me, the maestro or whatever.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you had all these nicknames.
I don't know. Whenever you get to a status of being right consistently, that happens.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we're coming off a break. Last week we were forced to cancel with the huge bit of snow we had last week. We're about to get even more tonight. Probably not too long after this show ends. So
we're about to get dumped on, man.
Yeah,
like, that's an understatement. We're about to get a foot.
Yeah,
so.
I'm glad we were able to get this in before the ensuing snowstorm. But anyways, how's your week been?
Man, my week's been pretty good. It's been kind of stressful with all that online mess, and it's around test 2 time. So
exactly.
test 2 time, you know how it gets, man.
Yep. All right. Well, unfortunately, we have to kind of kick off this week's show with some kind of lame news. Derrick Rose, star point guard for the Chicago Bulls, once again he re-tore his meniscus. It's in the same knee in which he tore it last year. It's unclear how long he'll be out. The thing is, we don't know how long he'll be out. He could come back, but naturally everyone's reactions are kind of, oh man, this is the end.
Yeah.
He's done. What's going to happen? What are your thoughts on it?
The meniscus is a tricky thing. So,
right.
I mean, you can't necessarily, rule him out. Although he's had multiple surgeries, Russell Westbrook had his last year. He had tore his. So,
and I'm glad you brought that up because I was looking at that. I was reading into it. I think Rose. I could be wrong. Rose had like a medial tear in his meniscus.
He had a medial.
Westbrook had a lateral tear in his, so that's why he had his removed, and that's why he was able to make a seamless comeback. And what's funny is, and we'll talk more about Westbrook in the show. I think when you look at the bad luck Derrick Rose has had with injuries, and you look at the injuries Westbrook's had, which they've been pretty serious over the last couple of years. How amazing is Westbrook? It really goes to show how amazing he is. That these injuries just somehow can't keep the guy down. But back to Derrick Rose, I've never been a big fan of Derrick Rose, but I just hate to see this happen to a young talent. I was hoping to see him improve his game in little ways over the next year or two and become more of a complete player. And I just really hope this doesn't delay that or, cancel it completely. And
no, I don't think it cancels it at all. I mean, you have these setbacks, but honestly, I think Derrick Rose has gotten to a point where I saw his mental toughness this year. He didn't back down. He didn't stop coming. He didn't stop coming hard. His body just failed him this time.
Unfortunately, he didn't stop shooting either. But yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Now we have to talk about the impact this is going to have on the Bulls. And I know people want to think that the Bulls are totally helpless without Derrick Rose, but that's just not the truth. In reality, Rose was at best the third best player on the Bulls this year. I mean, he I think inconsistent is kind of incorrect because for the most part, he's been consistently meh. He's been shooting about 40%, about 17, 18, 19 points a game. He's had a couple games. He had against Cleveland last week. I believe it was last week. He looked like, his old self from a couple of years ago. He was explosive. He shot efficiently, which
that was one of his better games. Yeah, he showed up for that one.
He pretty much all year he hasn't been efficient. His shot selection has been absolutely terrible. It's been especially terrible this year. I don't think he's really put enough time into developing that 3-point shot. But he thinks it's ready to go. It wasn't this year, and you got to wonder. I mean, are the Bulls? I never really thought the Bulls were a title team anyway, because while Rose is the third or fourth best player on that team when healthy, that team does go as he goes because he's the point guard and he has the ball in his hands a lot, and that's why I didn't think they were a title team. But in your opinion, are they finished as a title contender this season?
I don't think that completely derails them, mainly because, well, it's kind of hard to say Jimmy Butler because he's already played 2,040 minutes, dude. That's. Man, Kawhi Leonard's never played 2,000 minutes in his career.
Yeah, you saw that tweet last night. Yeah.
Jimmy Butler, 2,040 minutes. That's a ton of minutes. I just don't know how much he's going to have in the tank come time to be playoffs and lead that team. But
people want to play the blame game, and I know in heat of moment, I kind of did last night too on Tom Thibodeau. And while he hasn't really run Rose into the ground this year. There's just been plenty of moments where like the Bulls are up by a lot, and you're like, why is he still in, man? Take him out. Like last night, him and Noah were still in when the Bulls were up by 21. Why? Because not only is Rose, obviously going into last night, Rose already had a big injury history. Joakim Noah hasn't been right all year. I mean, why keep these guys in? Like the Bulls? I thought had one of the deepest teams, in the league. My whole thinking going into the season was, wow, the Bulls really have a lot of depth on their bench. Maybe Tibbs will quit giving, his guys all these minutes. But
when you
in the case of Noah and Jimmy Butler, especially, he hasn't let up.
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Right.
And he's done that with Lou all day. He's done that with Kirk Heinrich at times as well when he had him. He's done that now with Jimmy Butler. He's done that with Joakim Noah over the years, and he's also done that. He's also done that with.
He did it with Boozer.
Yeah, he did it with Boozer. Yeah, Boozer got a ton of minutes, and people wonder Boozer's washed. Boozer's this. Well, I mean, Boozer didn't have the legs to go 40 minutes a night.
No. Yeah, and I think Tibbs is. I mean, the writing's kind of been on the wall anyway. I think Tibbs is probably gone after this year in Chicago. And I tweeted last night. I see them having a parting of the ways like Jim Harbaugh in San Francisco had. How do you see it turning out? Do you think he's gone after this year?
I think he's gone because I think the front office has already been fed up, with his.
They've had clashes in the past.
Exactly, so I think they're kind of fed up with his.
There were rumors last year he was going to go to the Knicks.
Well, I know that they looked at him coming to the Knicks, like you said, but I really didn't think it gained any fruition. Now they have Derek Fisher. Do you think they get rid of Derek Fisher after 1 year to bring him in? I don't know if Phil will cut that tie.
If you can, you should.
Derek
Fisher's just awful, and Tom Thibodeau is, in spite of the horrible minutes, the man is a great basketball mind. He's a top 5 or 6 coach in the NBA, and there are a lot of teams that would love to have Tom Thibodeau.
I just don't know if him and Phil will get along together.
It seems like a weird fit because Phil is Phil, and Tom Thibodeau is old school but modern kind of guy. He's a better Doc. He's a Doc Rivers with much more X and O's knowledge, I would say. I mean, because Tom Thibodeau, to me, as a Celtics fan, is probably the guy coaching-wise most responsible for that championship when you think about the defensive schemes he ran. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, maybe that means he needs to go back down to an assistant role because certainly.
I mean, he's too good to be an assistant. You can't do that because he's so good. It's just he needs. I think an owner is going to have to say change your ways. He's not Tom Thibodeau good.
I mean, he's pretty good. He's the reason that Warriors defense is playing the way they are.
He's perfect where he is as an assistant. He is. Alvin Gentry is the perfect assistant coach. There's nothing wrong with that. Not every guy who's been a head coach needs to be rehired as a head coach. He would be a retread. And I know plenty of guys, I follow also, have the same mindset that you go with the younger guy or the guy who's just coming off a bad situation instead of a same retread kind of coach, like a Vinny Negro.
That's how I feel nowadays, too.
I don't think Alvin Gentry needs to be a head coach again.
Okay.
That's not to say he's bad.
No.
I don't think he'd be a bad hire.
I'm hearing that point. I'm liking that.
Yeah, it's the perfect situation for him in Golden State. And I think he might actually agree.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Why would he leave that?
I mean, like, he's one of the highest paid. That's one of the highest paid staffs as well in the NBA. So, I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. Probably just gotten pretty content with the situation too.
I think a good site for Tibbs would be Washington.
You think so?
Well, I mean, he'd be an upgrade over Whitman easily.
Would the Chicago? I don't know, man. Because
I think if Chicago would want to trade, they would want to trade. I would think, right?
But they're not gonna
unless
take Whitman.
Unless front office really hates Tom Thibodeau and just wants him out of there no matter what. I would think they would try and get some sort of trade package for him. Much like the Clippers did for Doc Rivers and the Bucks did for Jason
My thing with Tibbs is he just never shows any remorse. You never hear anything from him, about these situations.
And I think a humbling, and look, any team that interviews him, especially like an already playoff team but needs to go farther like the Wizards, which we'll discuss later, would obviously confront Tibbs about that. Hey, look, we don't want our guys being pushed into the ground. That's not what wins championships.
Especially when KD comes there and already has a bad foot.
It's what hinders championship teams. It's why because the Bulls on paper at least have had some really stacked teams over the last year or two, especially this year. I would say on paper they might have the best team in the East, not Cleveland. And that's why many people were picking the Bulls to win to be the
when
Eastern
they came into the
champion.
season on paper, their team was so stacked
everyone was picking the Bulls to win the East. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of was too.
And I got that feel too. Like even without Melo, I was like, okay, this team still has all the pieces, especially putting in Pau Gasol.
Yeah,
that was one of the biggest additions. So
right.
So
it's going to be interesting to see where the Bulls go from here. But bottom line, I don't think they're derailed this season. You don't either. Because what was Rose really offering this year?
It wasn't like he was MVP Rose that season.
Now, speaking of point guards, last night Rajon Rondo was benched for the last
20
minutes of the game.
In 10 seconds to be exact.
Yeah. He got in a huge shouting match with Rick Carlisle. And now in the latest development, he's being suspended for a game for conduct detrimental to the team, and they're playing the best team in the East, the Atlanta Hawks, tonight in a pretty big game. What does this mean for Rondo? A lot of people have already been, kind of skeptical about the trade since then. They're 20-12, I believe, since they traded for him, and now everybody is saying, well, Rondo's definitely not coming back to the Mavs now. What's your take on all this? What do you think happens?
I think right now Rondo is kind of in a dicey situation. Maybe he hasn't been, with Carlisle on the same page. And, it's been well documented in Rondo's history, even back to Kentucky, that he hasn't gotten along with his coaches all the time.
He's not afraid to speak his mind. But this instance is just, an outburst that I don't think I never saw him really getting into outbursts like that with Doc. You would see them getting into heated discussions, but I think there's a difference between that and him saying "F off" to Rick Carlisle last night.
It's like bringing in a new girlfriend, and you have that first argument.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know if this is gonna work.
Yeah.
I think we got to give it a little bit more time.
Exactly.
See what happens.
I think people are overreacting a little bit.
We need to give it a little bit more time, see what happens, because I think Rondo and Dallas can work. I just don't think he's messed there completely yet. And I really want to see them at their peak with Rondo on the court, even though they've been, plus with him off the court this whole season.
Offensively, they rose from the 20s to top 5, but people don't seem to care about that.
They don't care about that, but with the Mavericks, offense is a rarity.
It is, but I mean, their offense is still really good.
It is,
and they're not notably worse at all with Rondo. They've gone like 20-12 since they brought him in. I think people are my take on Rondo is, I think he wanted to leave Boston. I think just because he didn't want to stick for a rebuild, and I understand that. But Boston really was the perfect franchise for him, because his idiosyncrasies and the weirdness of Rondo. Boston was perfect for that. We loved him as fans. The media loved him, even though he barely would say anything.
The media, I don't know if the media loved him there.
The blue collar attitude that he has as a player, he loved Boston. Rondo is an emotional guy, but he did love playing for Boston, and Boston left him back. And I don't think he'll ever get that again anywhere he goes.
It's kind of too late to be getting that now.
Right.
So, like we talked about it before the show, the only teams that really right now I could see him being a fit for next year would be Indiana, because they're at a need for a point guard. What was another team we talked about possibly?
Lakers. Lakers would be a Kobe Rondo backcourt would be the worst backcourt in the history of NBA backcourts. That would be terrible.
Honestly, I think the Knicks would be the best fit if out of those three teams.
It's been known that him and Melo have wanted to play with each other. That's the only reason.
And Melo doesn't need the ball in his hand, so he can play off the ball.
Okay. I mean, I've gained respect for Melo over the last 2 years, but you can't tell me that Melo doesn't need the ball in his hands, because he's never been successful, on a team, where he hasn't always had the ball in his hands.
He doesn't need the ball in his hands. He posts up and he's good.
Yeah, but Melo loves having the ball in his hands.
Give him 16 feet, post up, face up. He's good, and Rondo can make things happen too.
He can.
So that I think that may be.
It would be an interesting.
Put Rondo there, put Marcus Gasol there, and then you're talking.
I'm still not sold on Marcus Gasol.
Then you're talking
leaving for the Knicks. That'd be he's not like that. I don't see that happening.
Okay.
All right, now the hottest teams in the NBA lately have been OKC, who've been 9-1 in their last 10 games. Cleveland, who's 8-2 in their last 10 games. Golden State. Well, Golden State's really just been hot all year, but they're 8-2 in their last 10. And Memphis, who's 8-2 in their last 10. And since they acquired Jeff Green, they've had the best record in the NBA since that span. So
23-5 at home. Wow.
yeah. Which team do you think? All right, now let's talk about OKC because I know this is one you want to talk about the most, and I was wrong about OKC. I'm willing to admit that. At the time, there was no reason to think OKC was going to galvanize like this. There just really wasn't.
Somehow I had this crazy irrational thought that they were going to do it, man.
But you wear that Thunder cape though, so right? It's all good.
Drives off and bus.
Russell Westbrook is not from this planet.
Dude is insane, man.
What is he averaging this month? Like 31, 8, and 9?
32, 7, 8, and 7.
It's ridiculous.
And he has a 29.17 PER in 43 games this season, and that's qualified in the PERs. If you look at the stats, that's qualified.
And
enough.
Last night he had another triple double, and he has the NBA record. It's his third this season, which is tied for the lead. And
with who is that? James? Not James. I don't think.
I think it's tied with Michael Carter. I think Michael Carter Williams might have 3. I think Rondo has 3. Rondo has 3.
He's been stuffing it up, Michael Carter Williams.
So and Westbrook, all of Westbrook's triple doubles have come in under 30 minutes.
Under 30 minutes.
He has or I think he has the record for most triple doubles under 30 minutes.
He has one at 28 and one at 27.
That's ridiculous.
He doesn't play that many minutes, and Scott, I love it, man.
Yeah, he's playing 32.6 minutes a game this season.
And that's pretty low.
Here are his stats: about 44% shooting, 29 from 3. That's really his only bad stat. 84 from the free throw range, 6.5 rebounds per game, which is more than Kevin Durant. 8 assists per game, 2 steals a game. He only fouls 2.6 times a game, so basically 3 fouls a game. 3.8 turnovers per game. But when you consider he has the highest usage rate in the NBA, that's not that bad of a stat.
The value added is sky high, too.
26 points per game and a 29.17 PER, like you stated. 29.17. That's ridiculous.
Out of 30, folks.
Yeah.
The guy is...
But actually, PER can go over 30.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Anthony Davis is like a 31 or a 32 PER.
Oh, wow. I thought 30 was the highest.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. LeBron had the record a couple years ago with like 32 or 33 something in that 2012-13 season with the Heat.
John Hollinger.
Yeah, gotta love it. But, we'll get more into this specifically later on in the show. But, I mean, Westbrook's got to be in the MVP running, right?
Yeah, I told you he moved up in my rankings, man. So
he's played 43 games. That's how many games has he missed? What's OKC's record?
They
OKC
played,
is 32 and 25.
He's missed 14 games. 57.
Yeah, 14. Do you think? Oh man, he can't miss anymore.
Well, he's qualified already for the PER and like the highest PERs. He has the highest among point guards that are qualified.
Right.
So.
I think if he keeps this up in some capacity in OKC, just if they, I don't know. Do you see an MVP going to an 8 seed? It's tough. You have to do outrageous things to go.
I mean, but you got to the media knows the story, what they've come from this season, and the media sees what James Harden and Russell Westbrook are doing. They're carrying their teams where their star players are out.
Right.
I mean, they have other pieces, but they're not them. They are the best players on their teams, and they're 2 of the best 5 players in the league. So
I agree. Now to the hottest team in the East, Cleveland. Everyone, okay, and I was telling you about this before the show, and this isn't meant to disrespect Cleveland at all. They've been playing phenomenal basketball. The reaction that a lot of sports writers are having in regards to Derrick Rose and the Bulls is the East the Cavs to lose now? I'm sorry, when was it theirs to win? Going into this season, everyone was picking Chicago. And now Atlanta's been the best team in the East really all season. Atlanta is 44-12.
6-4
in their last 10. Okay, maybe they've cooled off a little bit since that 19-game winning streak, but still, Cleveland is 36-22.
They were at 26-8.
Right. Cleveland is 9 games behind. I get it. Cleveland is the biggest threat to Atlanta in the postseason. There's really no one even close after that. There's a huge drop off right now after Atlanta and Cleveland. I'm willing to concede that. To me, a huge drop off. But Atlanta's not getting the respect they deserve, man. It really annoys me. I know you know this too.
I think
when are people going to realize that the East is going through Atlanta? It's not going through Cleveland, at least not yet, not right now. It's going through Atlanta.
I just think it's funny that people think Atlanta is a pushover still.
Well, they don't watch basketball.
If you use this logic, folks, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to lay it out there. If you're using this logic that, Golden State is so much different this year with their coach, Steve Kerr makes all the difference.
Which he has. He's made a ton of difference. But look at what Mike Budenholzer's done in Atlanta.
But watch this, though. If you're saying using that logic for Golden State, they haven't done anything in the playoffs either, if we're being real. They've been a first, second round exit as well.
Granted, that was under a much inferior coach.
But Atlanta finally has the roster that they've been trying to build.
Right. A healthy one, too.
Exactly. A healthy one. They actually have everybody healthy. And you guys were saying that, they won't do anything in the first second. They've always been missing somebody.
My thing is, like, people just don't watch basketball if they think Atlanta is a pushover. And that's fine. Mm-hmm. Just say, I haven't really seen enough of Atlanta, but they seem to be doing really well. I'm looking forward to them in the playoffs. Just say that. Don't try and make it sound like, you know what you're talking about with Atlanta when you clearly don't. And that's what it is. People say, they're boring. Same people who say the Spurs are boring or don't watch basketball or don't watch smart basketball or don't know, what the hell they're talking about when it comes to basketball.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down to with the Hawks when I look at it. How do you think they'll do? I don't see them being a slip-up team in the first round. I mean, they'd be playing the Nets right now. They could be potentially playing Miami, and you got to be real with yourself. Like, neither of his teams are beating them in a 7-game series.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. That 8 seed is kind of just like a punching bag for whoever Atlanta gets.
Exactly.
Unless it's Detroit, because that's a team. That's a team that you don't want.
I know Stan's putting some nice players on the roster. I've noticed what he's been doing the last couple of days, but that doesn't make them playoff.
But it's not. They're not going to be a punch. Detroit wouldn't be a punching bag. Brooklyn, yes.
I think Brooklyn. I mean, I rip on Brooklyn all the time, but I mean, here they are.
They have 23 wins, man. It's not
so do the Pistons.
Orlando can still make the playoffs, dude.
Orlando's not making the playoffs.
They have
Jock Vaughn, in the brief time he was there, made sure they weren't going to make the playoffs any year he was there.
Yeah, but I mean, they're only 4 games back, so.
Yeah, I mean, the East is terrible. That's my point. That after the 6
Heck,
seed,
Philly could still make the playoffs if they wanted to.
Golly, after the 6 seed, the playoffs don't matter in the East.
Whoa, chill out.
Cleveland, I think, is really the only threat to beat Atlanta in a 7-game series in the East. Is that fair?
I think Miami is a team that can really put some things together with Goran Dragic.
I can't even.
If Goran Dragic can give them 22,
this isn't even funny to me anymore.
Dude, if he's giving them 22-10, like
your bench is still trash.
Our bench just scored 35 points the other night. What are you saying?
Against who?
Against the Sixers.
Rest my case. All right. Now, and staying with the East, the Wizards have really just fallen down the totem pole over the last couple of weeks. At one point, they were a top 3 seed in the East, dark horse contender for Western Conference Finals. Now they're 2-8 in their last 10. They've lost 4 in a row. They're just a game and a half ahead of the surging Milwaukee Bucks. And really, we thought Milwaukee was just gonna kind of stay put at that 6-7 area, and they finished like 500, maybe a game or two over.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Milwaukee's on pace to finish with 45, 46 wins, and that's really not even adjusted to the, how well they play lately. I think they end up with 48, 49 wins and finish a top 5, top 4 seed ahead of Washington unless Washington gets their act together. And Washington's you see, my problem with the Wizards is, and this is something I feared would happen that would hurt them in the long run. Offensively, there's no real game plan coaching-wise with them. They're good at shooting threes, but they take the most long twos in the NBA, and that's the worst shot. That's
why do they take the most long twos? You know who's taking all those long twos, right?
John Wall.
No.
Well, he takes some, but
John Wall are within 15,
Chris Humphries
16.
takes a lot of those.
Chris, Kevin, Nene, and Marcin. They all take the most. It's their forwards. It's still. I don't see John. I don't see
John takes plenty.
14 to 16 feet. That's not long twos.
No, but the long two is the worst shot in basketball. And the more you take that,
and John's are off of the pick when he had the clear open shot.
John can run an offense, but there's no offensive game plan with the Wizards, really. I mean, Whitman gets out-coached offensively all the time. And in the playoffs, if you're good defensively, you don't really need to make huge adjustments on defense in the playoffs, right? In the playoffs, it's about adjusting on offense.
Mm-hmm.
And the Wizards aren't going to do that in the playoffs. Like, Whitman's not going to make good offensive adjustments. He's a terrible offensive coach. It's honestly the same thing as Mark Jackson in the playoffs. It's why the Warriors were that first, second round exit those last couple of years. And the Wizards are honestly the Eastern counterpart to those Golden State teams. Not quite as good, but
I think you mean Toronto.
No, I'm not talking about Toronto.
I think you mean Toronto, though.
No. This is about the Wizards, man. You got to own it
Dude,
up.
nah, the Wizards. I'm trying to tell, man.
I'm not buying Toronto. Toronto's better, but not by a whole lot.
You'll see, man.
I don't even think Toronto's that good of a coach.
All I can ever say, man. Shout out to my dude B Davis, man. We gonna see, man.
You'll see.
We gonna see. All I know is not
even
about
Wizards fans know this.
All right, man.
I'm telling you, like there's no shame in admitting that a team has peaked under this coach. Like I'm not trying to bash women. I'm just saying that the Wizards need to get better.
Mm-hmm.
He's not the guy to take them to their peak, and you know that.
Okay.
You don't actually think Whitman is a guy to take them to their peak, right?
No, I don't actually.
You're trolling me. Yeah, I was getting frustrated for a second there.
I think
because I would have a hard time grasping that you actually believe that.
I think my my pick to replace Randy Whitman, which they're not going to get rid of him this year, dude.
No, it won't be this year because they're still in that feel good. We're a young team phase, but then like they'll outgrow him after next year when they end up in the same place next year. I'm not trying to bash the Wizards. Like it's because I care about them. Like I wanted to see this. Like I'm really glad to see the Wizards.
All I have to say is Fred Hoiberg may be on his way to Washington, man.
I want Fred Hoiberg in the NBA. I've been saying this.
No, I'm saying is he may be on his way, man.
Could be Chicago.
To Washington.
Could be no. It could be to Washington. Could be Chicago. Could be to Minnesota. There's a lot of teams that are going to want Fred Hoiberg.
Is Ray Allen going to play? I just had to have a side.
No. Brett Favre isn't going to. He's the new Brett Favre.
Yo, seriously, like.
But not quite as bad. But it's getting there. But case in point with Washington, they've peaked. They're not going anywhere under Randy Whitman. I mean, they can maybe get out of a first round this year, but they're not getting past the second round, and they won't reach their full potential under him.
So, what do you think the window on this team is? Because it's pretty young team.
Well, that's the thing. It's hard to tell because there's no offensive game plan with this team. Will they bring in KD?
They're bringing.
Is Beal going to be injury prone? Like what? Like
Kevin Seraphin will be the next feature forward on the team.
Beal can come back. Glosses over that Kevin Seraphin thing. Beal may come back from injury, but he's got what Drew Holiday's had over the last year or two. And sure, he can come back and play, but that doesn't mean he's not going to keep being nailed by these injuries. And it gets to a point where you got to start worrying about that. Do you invest in the guy long term? Is he the next Klay Thompson or is he the next Eric Gordon? And it's definitely something to consider and wonder, with the Wizards. I like where this bottom line, I like where this team has come from. Like, I'm happy, as a guy who roots for the Redskins and Capitals, as far as DC teams go, I'm happy to see the Wizards as a Virginia guy doing well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of talent on this team. Granted, there's some weird things about it, like Rasul Butler being 35 and
still
getting
balling.
a lot of minutes, and Marcin Gortat having a bad long-term contract, even though he's still kind of good now. Other than that, I really like this Wizards team, and I just want to see them, grow to their full potential under a better coach. Whitman's not the right coach for this team anymore. I think that's a fair compromise.
Well, I'll see that March 5th. Side note that Craig Sager will be back.
Yeah. So that's great news for anybody that cares about the NBA.
Yep. So he'll be on those Wizards playoff games.
I'm not saying they're missing the playoffs, man. You're just...
Nah. There's no way they miss the playoffs.
No, yeah. But in a feel-good story, to me, we weren't able to talk about it because of snow canceling last week and all that. Kevin Garnett returns to Minnesota tonight. His first game back at Minnesota as a Timberwolf for the second time. What do you think about this? This whole KG coming back to Minnesota thing. I find it fascinating. It's about more than basketball.
I think for KG to come back there was monumental. My two reasons for that being that this is a team that lacks championship pedigree.
Clearly.
This is a team that
let alone winning pedigree.
Exactly. This is a team that not only, if they want to be successful with the core that they have as they grow, and get legal to even drink, they're gonna need to have toughness. They're gonna need to have that mindset that says I'm an NBA veteran and quick. Because I think this team has the pieces: Rubio, Wiggins, Levine, maybe. I'm not saying he's gonna be like. I think he could be a good role player at the least.
Yeah. I'd see him honestly being Gerald Green because his rookie year's been downright terrible aside from his phenomenal dunks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean they have a core and they're gonna have a top 5 pick this year. Like if they get a guy like Karl Anthony Towns to run with guys like Wiggins, and Shabazz Muhammad's been a good player too.
Shabazz Muhammad is a guy you want to keep bringing off your bench. You don't want to start him, but
and apparently they're working on an extension with KG. So imagine getting a guy like Towns and he's not a raw player by any means, but what better player to learn from than Kevin Garnett?
Yeah, that'd be huge for Minnesota to get someone like Karl Anthony Towns. I feel like out of all the centers in this draft, that he fits the most with Minnesota,
Right.
either him or Willie.
But if you're picking his Heisman, you're picking the better player.
Yeah. So, but I just don't think Carl will be there. I think he'll be there at number
He
one.
could be.
I think number one, he may get number one, man.
He should go
the
number
way
one.
his stock is rising up, and then Jalil's, ankle becoming a bum right now.
Some basketball writer I follow, I forget who it was, tweeted a really good point a couple weeks ago. If you're not taking Okafor number one for his post game, then why are you taking him number one?
Mm-hmm.
With Towns, there's a lot more to his game than Okafor has. That's just a fact. I mean, Towns isn't raw offensively at all. He just doesn't have Okafor's post game. He has a nice little step back jumper.
Who, Towns?
Yeah, he's been featuring that a little bit lately. He's slowly integrating it into his offense.
Searches mine.
Great defender. Like, just blocks the ball like crazy.
Okay, I found the step back by Karl Anthony Towns, but keep listening. Listing out the great things that you were doing.
He's just a better overall player.
Oh, I'm living with that shot though.
No, I mean, well, it's not his go-to shot. It's hard for any 7-foot 19-year-old to really have a go-to step back jumper like that. But if he can hit that, he keeps working on it. Come on, man. We're talking about good players here.
Oh,
but
whoa, the slightage.
Yeah, but that'll be a discussion we'll have on a later show closer to the draft. Karl Anthony Towns, but but that goes back to KG. KG is, KG, I think it was probably hard for him to accept he's not going to win a title for the rest of his career. Like, his championship days are over, but he can do something noble in Minnesota. He can be an ambassador. He can, he's at the end of the day, he's playing for the franchise alongside the Celtics that loved him more than anything. Like he's the greatest Timberwolf of all time, and there's no one else. And I think after the sour ending to Kevin Love and his brief run in Minnesota, the way KG never forgot about that city, never really wanted to leave Minnesota, despite the, terrible front office, decisions that plagued him while he was there. He never wanted to leave. Like, he had just a crazy sense of loyalty that really no other NBA players ever had. And he came back for them, even though they're bad. That has to mean a lot to Timberwolf fans. Aside from, maybe he'll be an owner one day. He'll teach Wiggins what it means to play for this franchise. At the end, it's just such a feel-good story, I think it's good for Wolves fans.
And I think, the main important thing to take out of this is that KG's been around. He's been around for a long time, so he's seen different generations.
Almost 20 years, yeah.
Yeah, so he's seen different generations of the game, and I think the person that's going to benefit the most from this is Andrew Wiggins, who obviously is the centerpiece about this for this team. So,
and by the way, Andrew Wiggins, let's talk about him. Perfect segue into Andrew Wiggins. How good is this guy? Remember when everybody was saying, not NBA ready?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
I was one saying that. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
Well, before he came in, I didn't think he was NBA ready.
I mean, his offense.
I mean, he had the tools. He had the tools and everything. Don't get me wrong.
But his offense wasn't shot. I mean, he wasn't an offensive first player like.
Didn't think he had a great shot.
I think that the reason people thought he wasn't NBA ready compared to Jabari Parker is because Jabari is offense first, second, and third. Wiggins isn't only offensive minded. And I think that's why people didn't think Andrew Wiggins was NBA ready. You're not going to take a guy who's considered the best prospect since LeBron James #1 and he's not NBA ready. That's how I looked at it. I mean, the other night he had that block on James Harden, and then Rubio found him deep for a and one dunk. Like, Wiggins is just phenomenal. I think he'll be a top 3, top 5 player in the league when he's 25.
Yeah, and I can't really disagree with that one because simply I've watched plenty of Timberwolves. I watched a lot of Timberwolves games. I even went to see the Timberwolves when they played the Wizards. Man, yeah, it was depressing.
Wiggins.
Well, Levine was non-existent in that game. He gets taken out of a lot of games.
He needs a D-League stint.
Well, that's not happening.
No, I mean, it's not bad. A lot of players have to go through
I know,
D-League.
but it's not happening.
It should.
Wiggins, his defense is so pure, so good, so natural that
his feet. It's
Yeah.
on his feet. His feet, like he was guarding Harden, and like his feet are just moving with Harden's perfectly.
I'm so intrigued by that. I'm so intrigued by such a young defender like that. That's one of the things that I'm really into is good defenders.
Mm-hmm.
But also, looking at his offensive game, he takes about 13 shots a game, but he's shooting about 45%, and that's going to increase. His
offense is only going to get better.
This is the rookie year, so I'm pretty ecstatic about what I see because his numbers are identical to Kevin Love's this year if you look at them.
And having a guy like Ricky Rubio make the game so much easier for you. Like that, like having a point guard like that was just a godsend for Andrew Wiggins in his rookie year,
Mm-hmm.
Everyone always compared him to T-Mac coming out, and I never got that. Like, he's long, and he makes some exciting plays, but he's not a shooter like T-Mac, at least not right now. And he's just a better prospect than T-Mac was at this age. I mean, because what was T-Mac doing when he was Wiggins' age? He came out of high school, yeah, but he wasn't a super high pick, and he wasn't even a starter. He wasn't ever a starter in Toronto, I don't think. Wiggins is a starter already and would start for most teams, I think, right now. And he's 19 years old, about to turn 20. I think Wiggins is a young Scottie Pippen.
I think he'll be better than Scottie Pippen, man.
Well, all right, let's calm down there. I mean, Scottie's the top 50 all-time player. Also,
but who's to say that
whose record just got broken by LeBron for most assists ever by a forward? Scottie Pippen. Wiggins just isn't a natural ball handler yet. You either have that or you don't. That's not to say Wiggins can't be a ball handler eventually, but right now he's not a natural ball handler like Scottie.
I'm telling you, man.
I love Wiggins. Like I'm a diehard Wiggins. I'm all in on Wiggins. Like, he's a superstar.
All right. I'm not slighting Scottie at all either.
No.
I see a lot of potential in this dude.
I do too, but we can't say saying he's gonna be better than Scottie Pippen is just as ridiculous as the people who compare Jahlil Okafor to Tim Duncan.
Whoa,
that was always.
So you're calling me ridiculous.
I'm sorry. I guess it's just the Bash Mitch show.
So wait, do you think Jahlil Okafor can't develop defense and that he won't? Do you think?
I'm not saying he won't, but right now he doesn't. Like
because we said the same. We had the same debate about Jabari and Andrew last year.
I've never like comparing 18, 19-year-olds to top 5 players all time. I mean, Tim Duncan was a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year in the ACC at Wake Forest. Like comparing Jahlil Okafor's, like we need to take what they're best at. Okafor post game. Let's compare him to Al Jefferson. There's no shame in that. Al Jefferson's had a really good NBA career. Boy, he should make some All-Star games if you ask me. There's no shame in comparing that.
But why can't he be better than Al Jefferson?
I'm not saying he can't be.
I think he will be.
But it's too early to say he will be.
Man, if
I haven't seen anything to say that he will be. Not right now. That's not to say
I need you to go look back at that UVA game.
That's not to say he can't improve and won't improve. I'm just people use that. Like he's dominating or he commands double, triple teams. That's because like he's playing a bunch of unathletic, smaller dudes in college. In the NBA, he's not going to demand those right away.
But go look back at that UVA film, and it will show you everything you need to see. I promise you.
Like, I'm not saying Okafor can't improve. I'm just saying, aside from the great post game, which by the way, NBA teams aren't winning with post play right now. Spurs, stretching the ball around, moving around. Tim Duncan doesn't. I mean, yeah, Tim Duncan is a post player, but they don't rely on his post play. The Heat did not win by post play.
Birdman.
Right. The Mavs did not win by post play. You know what I mean? It's just I'm not saying that Okafor.
Oh, the Mavs actually tore us up though in the post.
Well, that's because the Heat are small, but the Mavs relied a lot on shooting. They didn't rely on post play. I'm not saying Okafor is a dinosaur of a prospect, that this guy isn't, a guy you can build around, but I want to see. I mean, he's not as good as Joel Embiid coming out of Kansas. Embiid had a good post game, better mid-range jumper, great free throw, much better free throw shooter than Okafor, and a top-notch defender as a prospect. It's not even close really between those two. I'm not saying Okafor can't get better or won't get better. Just right now, I don't like his long-term prospects as much as guys like Karl-Anthony Towns.
Yeah,
I know you're a big Miles Turner fan.
Oh yeah, I'm liking Miles Turner, man.
I think Miles Turner could be better than Okafor. Could be.
I think Miles Turner, his touch around the rim, and I talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm
big on that too.
I watched this game against West Virginia last night. I watched this game. I can't remember who they played a couple weeks ago, but I watched another game of Texas's. And
he's fun to watch.
He's got some touch, man.
Good shot blocker too.
Yeah, he's long, lanky, and once he puts the 15, 20 pounds on, I'm liking what that dude has to offer. And somebody's gonna get a steal down there, and inside the lottery.
I'd welcome him in Boston. Now
that'd be a nice fit. Just saying.
We touched on this earlier, I did when we talked about Westbrook and MVP. It's time to do our latest awards rankings. Let's give our top 5 MVPs.
Oh, you want it again? This is my second time
Yeah,
this week.
we did this on the Mitch and Numbers show.
Well, it did. It actually did change in the span of 2 days.
We'll do more than MVPs since this is a basketball hour.
I'm gonna go right now. James Harden number 1,
Mm-hmm.
Steph Curry number 2, Russell Westbrook number 3, Bron number 4 after another solid performance last night. Number 5. That's where it kind of like drops off for me.
Anthony Davis.
Nah, he's injured right. He's injured right now.
Man, I hate this.
He's injured right now.
I hate this, man.
I mean, maybe I don't know because it's hard to pick that 5th. Maybe
Want me to do mine?
Yeah, do
All
yours.
Right. I've got Harden number 1, Steph number 2, Westbrook 3, LeBron 4, Marc Gasol number 5, and I really am sad that Anthony Davis's injuries and the Pelicans being absolutely inept are why he won't win the MVP, because he's been the best player in the NBA this season. I don't even think that's questionable. He was absolutely dominant this year.
Much improved shot too.
Mm-hmm.
Only gonna get better.
Right.
Why do you have James over Steph? What's your reasoning for that? Because a lot of people aren't understanding this. They're just taking his high volume scoring and thinking that's MVP.
You will get it. You're on the same page as me. And look, for the record, I wouldn't be mad if Stephen Curry won the MVP. Exactly. He's having a great year. It's funny, he's not even having as good a year as he did last year.
Exactly.
Media helps. His team being the best in the West helps.
Having another player that scores in the top 10 of scoring helps as well.
Right. For me, I just appreciate what Harden's doing more. He's just more valuable relative to his team. You know, he's having career highs across the board. I mean, like, the guy is just a machine. He's top 10 in defensive win shares too, by the way. He's really improved as a defender. I just really appreciate what Harden's doing this year.
I have the same reasoning with that. You take Steph Curry off the Warriors, they'll still find a way to win games, and granted it will hurt them drastically.
Oh, well, definitely, yeah, they would be a 60 without Stephen Curry.
Exactly, but granted, the Warriors possibly not looking at the playoffs with or an 8 seed without James Harden. What James has done has been absolutely crazy.
Let's do a little head-to-head. Here's Stephen Curry's numbers this year. Shooting 48% overall, 40 from three-point, 90% free throws, 7.9 assists per game, 4.6 rebounds a game, 23.8 points per game, 28.03 PER. So his stats are actually better than last year. I stand corrected on that. I'm sorry. Now here's James Harden's stats.
27, 7 assists per game, 6 rebounds per game, and a 27.29 PER.
And top 10 in defensive win shares too.
Mm-hmm.
Now the shooting percentage, it's lower. I mean, well, he's shooting 45% overall. About 39.
2 steals a game this season too.
About 39% from 3-point range and about 87% from free throw range. And there's no reason to think the overall field goal percentage won't go up. I mean, because it started off, well below 40 for the first month or so of the season, and he brought it up. So
45% for a jump shooter like that and a scorer like that,
and just for a guy who has all the offensive responsibility in the world, this
18 shots a game.
This isn't a Kobe Bryant type season where Kobe Bryant was jacking up like this, on stacked teams, and people thought he should have won the MVP. By the way, he never really should have won an MVP, but I will, save that for another time. Harden's doing this with all the weight of his team on his shoulders, and that's why you and I both have Harden as our MVP. All right, now next award. Let's do our top 5 Coach of the Year rankings. I'll start off with mine. I've got Mike Budenholzer number 1, Steve Kerr number 2. This is hard. I had Jason Kidd at number 3. I really want to put Jason Kidd at number 2, maybe even number 1. Number 4, Dave Yeager for Memphis. Number 5 is where it gets tough for me because there's a lot of guys that, kind of have similar arguments. Number 5 for me, I'm just going to go with Terry Stotts, Portland. I just really think the guy's underappreciated as a coach, the way he's redefined his style, how steady Portland's been since he got there. He would be 5th in my Coach of the Year rankings.
I'll start from the bottom. 5 would be Kevin McHale for me.
Okay. I thought about putting Kevin McHale.
He's kept Houston there. A lot of people were thinking that, this was a do or die year for him, and he's done. Granted, he has the MVP on his team, but even without his team at full strength. Patrick Beverly's been out for quite a few games. He's kept Ariza, integrated in the offense. It seemed like at times he could fall off, but he stayed within that offense. So I'm happy with what Mikhail's done there. 4, I have Jaeger as well. Memphis has been, stout this year, but it's just some better stories around it. Memphis is doing this. He's done this for 2 years now.
One of the best young minds in basketball.
One of the best. Yeah, it does not take away from him being one of the best minds in the game. 3rd, I'm gonna have. I'm gonna say, man, this is the one where it gets tricky, man.
I mean, there's really only 3 left.
Man, I got to put my guy Dwayne Casey in there, man. He's got Toronto he's got Toronto at number 2, man. And looked like they were gonna fall. They're still here, man. DeMar DeRozan went down, still there. Toronto, man. Salute to Dwayne Casey. Number 2, I got Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr, we already know what he's doing out there. I mean, the team's only lost 2 games at home. That's beautiful. Number 1, I have my guy Mike Budenholzer. So he's self-explanatory.
All right.
Pop disciple.
All right.
You're hating that Dwayne Casey.
Yeah, I mean, like just watching Raptors games, like when you look at the talent on that team, Casey just really isn't that great of a coach.
I mean, we could say that for a lot of teams, man.
I think is the main factor in that.
He's been using him pretty well lately.
No,
yeah.
No.
Go look back at that, man.
Not on defense.
I mean, well, he's got to be able to have defensive awareness. He can't be on the court with him as well, holding his hand.
He doesn't use him well on offense as much either.
He uses him pretty solidly.
How so?
Gets him in the pick and roll with Lowry. I mean, what more do you want?
Need to get him.
It's not like an 18
get him closer to the basket.
Not like an 18 and 9.
I wanted to get him closer to the basket. He could be. I think he could be. I mean, I think this team just isn't really because of Dwayne Casey. We're not. I think beside Ujiri being one of the best executives in basketball is why they're this good. I mean, this roster isn't like a lot of these guys are leftovers from the past GM, and Dwayne Casey wasn't Masai Ujiri's coach. If anything, he's doing these guys a favor. Really, all of them a favor, especially Kyle Lowry.
I guess, man.
I'm not saying Casey's a bad coach, but man,
I hear you though.
Oh, okay.
I hear you.
I don't know how you could have him over Jason Kidd, man. I really don't.
Why
wouldn't Jason Kidd be in your top 5? I want to hear this.
Man, first of all respect to Jason Kidd, but I really like what Dwayne Casey's doing. Somebody had to take the bite. They're 16 in the East, man. And granted, they don't have Jabari. They're not there, man.
Last year, this team won 15 games.
I will say this.
There are teams more talented on paper than the Bucks that will miss the playoffs in the East.
Let me say this though. Jason Kidd is making something magical happen there, and they're going to be a powerhouse in the East soon.
Right. But they're going to win 45 to 50 games. They're better than the Wizards right now.
Are we sure about that?
Well, they're on pace to win at least 45.
What's their schedule? Strength of schedule looking like? Let's take a look at their next few games, man.
I mean, the Bucks are like they're good. Like it's not even just like I don't know how they're good. It's because of Jason Kidd.
They're crushed out by the Bulls, crushed out by the Hawks. They got the 76ers, Lakers, Jazz, Nuggets, Warriors, Wizards, Pelicans, Magic, Pacers, Grizzlies, Pelicans.
They can win literally all those games except the Warriors
and the Wizards.
No, come on, man. You're killing me with this Wizards trolling.
So 2 games out of that they may lose. Okay, I'm here for that. If he can reel off
Grizzlies and Warriors are obviously the 2 most.
If he can reel off like a 9-1, 8-2 in the next 10, then I'll
no
stop
reason
sleeping.
to think they can't.
I'll stop sleeping.
I don't know when you did stop sleeping. You were the one with me all year.
I've been with you though, but I'm saying
I don't know how you're sleeping even more when they're playing the best basketball they've played all year. That doesn't make sense.
Dwayne Casey, man, you got to give him a little bit more credit for what he's doing in Toronto.
No, I don't, because he's not the reason they're good.
Okay.
The fact that they're just so talented on paper is why they're good. Sometimes it's like that.
I hear you, man.
Dwayne Casey, Mitch. I need to start writing about coaches.
Maybe you should.
I need to write like a coach's manual.
Oh man, maybe you should.
Yeah.
Dwayne
Casey. Oh my gosh.
What else you got for me, man?
All right. Well, let's keep up with the awards. Rookie of the year has to be. It's more like who do you have 2nd through 5th after Andrew Wiggins?
I
think we're both in agreement on 2nd.
Nerlens. Right?
Nerlens.
Third would be Nikolai for me, Mirotic.
Yeah, I'd have him third as well. I'd have Elfrid fourth.
Yeah, Alfred's been pretty good.
He was my pick going into the regular season.
Yeah, I was feeling him. I mean, we sometimes we expect a little bit too much out of rookies in the
Right.
transition, but it's been pretty solid for him. As far as number 5 goes, I really wish I could put Dante Exum here, but he just hasn't been.
He just hasn't been getting the minutes.
Yeah.
How about KJ?
Yo, I'm loving KJ. Put KJ McDaniels in there, man, please, because a lot of people aren't seeing what he's doing, but he's awesome, man. I mean, he's got the size, he's got the bounce, he's got the offensive rebounding down, defensive rebounding. I like this guy, man. I think he's gonna be solid for Houston if they keep him there.
I agree. I like KJ. He's really. That was just a weird trade. Didn't make sense, but I mean,
Right.
it's most improved player. This is the toughest one, I think, outside of MVP.
To me, I say Draymond Green. I mean, what he's been able to do, he plays 3 through 5, and when you put him on when it's him and Steph, on a 1-5 pick and roll. Saw Zach Lowe tweet about this. Saw it last night myself.
Yeah.
When he's playing a 5 and then they has to come out there and it's a 1-5, you can't guard it.
No, you can't.
Because you popped to Draymond and Draymond finds another
Exactly.
open man. So I'm loving Draymond Green's game this year.
I would say
humble dude too.
My most improved, starting from 1 to 5, I would go Jimmy Butler, Klay Thompson, Draymond, Shabazz Muhammad, number 5, Brandon Knight.
I go Draymond, Jimmy, Klay, Brandon Knight, as you said, because it's been a spectacular year for him.
We'll see if it keeps up in Phoenix.
Yeah. 5 should be Anthony Bennett. He should be in there. But he just hasn't been what I expected him to be.
Anthony Bennett's still terrible.
That's what I'm saying. I said he should be in there.
Oh, wow.
No, but
I
like you said, Bazzi. Nah.
I thought you were.
I'm not that oblivious.
Yeah.
Nah, Bazzi is 5 because I remember I told you when I was at the game, I was like, this dude Bazzi.
I'm telling you, I love Shabazz, man.
He's playing a more complete game. So.
And it goes back to the fact that Rick Adelman just wasn't the right coach for that team.
Mm-hmm.
That team was just so young and needed to get minutes, and he never played guys like Gorgie Jane and
so old school.
Yeah, and he never played Shabazz Muhammad at all. I really like the way Shabazz has improved. I think he could be a starter going forward.
Yeah, I think Bazzi could, man, but I just like him coming off the bench because he fills it up for him.
Real quick before we get into our Wednesday night pick, Larry Sanders, he's just been all over the place. Bought out by the Bucks, and now apparently he's entering treatment for anxiety and depression. So I hope the guy gets his act together. I was, growing up in Richmond, I enjoyed watching him play at VCU. So he's always a guy I paid attention to in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts on that?
I think that he really just has to separate him. It's kind of like Gucci, man. You got to separate yourself.
On.
Listen. You got it's what Gucci has done. You got to separate yourself from the people that are holding you back, and he hasn't obviously.
That's a very good point, though.
That's what's happening, and
the gospel of Gucci.
Yeah, Gucci said he has to get away from the people that have been holding him back. You can obviously see he's focused on what needs to be focused on, his music.
Cough, Jeezy, cough. I'm kidding. I love Jeezy.
Yeah, Jeezy's a legend too. But I think Larry Sanders really just has to take this time to focus. If you're not ready, don't come back next season.
Don't play basketball if you don't want to and your heart's not in it. Exactly. I know that sounds like, man, he's getting all this money. It's what he's good at. Mm-hmm. Why shouldn't he? It's not. It doesn't always work that way. It's a shame, but it doesn't always work that way. Andrew Bynum.
Some people's lives do not translate to that lifestyle.
Right. I mean, the guy didn't start playing basketball till he was in high school.
And please stop saying like this lifestyle is easy to live. That lifestyle has got to be one of the most strenuous in the world.
In many ways, it reminds me of Todd Marinovich. If any of you guys have ever seen the ESPN film on Todd Marinovich, former quarterback for the Raiders who flamed out and didn't really care about playing football, even though he had all the talent in the world, Larry Sanders is sort of a similar story to that. All right. Last thing for the week before we wrap up, time to do our Wednesday night pick'em. First up, we've got New York at Boston. I'm obviously going with the Celtics.
I'm taking the Knicks in this one.
Of course. Heat at the Magic. I'll take the Heat in that one.
3-game winning streak coming, baby.
Dallas at Atlanta tonight. I'm taking the Hawks in that one.
I'm taking the Mavericks in this one. I really think Dallas on the road will be better.
God, Rondo haters are just gonna be having a field day if Dallas wins this game without him.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte at Chicago. I'm taking Chicago in this one.
Taking Chicago as well. Not sold on Charlotte.
No.
When their development.
Clippers at Rockets. It's a big game tonight. It's on at 8 p.m. on ESPN. Harden, funny little stat, his lowest career points per game, team-wise, is against the Clippers. This is a really big game.
At home, I'm taking James.
I'm taking Houston too. I think
he may put JJ Redick in the spin cycle.
I think he has a big game tonight. I think like we get 40, 45 point Harden tonight. At least I hope we do.
And then people will stop sleeping on him. Call B Davis.
Whatever. Mm-hmm. Sixers at Bucks tonight. Michael Carter Williams hosts his old team. I'm taking the Bucks in this one, obviously.
I'm taking the Bucks as well.
You wanted to take the Sixers, didn't you?
Nah, I didn't.
Wizards at Wolves tonight. This is a really emotional game. KG returning to Minnesota.
Washington. They trashed them the last time they played them.
Remember when we had that whole Warriors-Wolves situation, and you and I we both said, don't sleep on the Wolves, man. And the Warriors barely beat them.
We both accurately called that one, correct?
And this isn't a, like, keep in lieu with like my Wizards supposed bashing. I would take this against most teams. I think the Wolves win tonight. I think the emotions are be so high for them. KG is going to be, he'll have that team ready to go. Mm-hmm. We should be saying that about the coach. How bad of a coach is Flip Saunders that we're saying that about a player?
Yeah, and then they're going against Flip Saunders is going up against his old team. So
that's right, one of his old teams. That's right.
Yeah.
Nets at Pelicans in the garbage bowl tonight.
Pelicans. Tyreek Evans has been playing out of his mind in the last 5 games.
I'll take the Nets in this one. I can't count on the Pelicans to keep winning games as long as Monty Williams is their coach and Anthony Davis isn't playing. Suns at Nuggets tonight. I like the Suns in this one.
I like the Suns as well. Denver is just trash.
Yeah, and they're where they need to be. They need to just be tanking. The Lakers at the Jazz. The Lakers seem to be riding sort of a high. I think I'll go with the Lakers in this one as much as it pains me.
Keep winning, Lakers.
Grizzlies at Kings tonight. Grizzlies.
Yeah, Grizzlies. Grit and grind.
I haven't watched the Kings play since George Karl took over, so I need to peep that sometime.
Yeah.
And in the late game, I'm really excited about this one. We've got Spurs at Trailblazers. It's at 10:30 on ESPN after the Rockets Clippers game. I like Portland in this one. We all subscribe, I think, to the San Antonio. I'm not worried about the Spurs. It's the Spurs. They'll figure it out. And I'm not quite ready to jump off at yet, but right now the Spurs just haven't really impressed me. And I think this is a big game for Portland.
Yeah, Spurs win this one on ESPN.
Really?
10:30. Yes, they win this one.
I've got Portland winning this one.
This is about the time where I'm telling you now, Numbers. People
you don't need to tell me about the Spurs.
Oh, I know you. Yeah. I know you, but I'm gonna tell people now, just so you hear it, and I text you tonight in the basketball hour chat. Stop sleeping and wake up, B Davis.
Well, the thing is, the Spurs don't need to be a top 3, top 4 seed.
They don't. They could be a 9 seed and still beat the 8 seeds in the playoffs.
And Portland needs to beat the Spurs. I mean, this is a team they've struggled to beat, as have most teams in the playoffs. But,
yes, San Antonio trashed them.
I think this is a big game for Portland. I think they win. I expect a big game from Damian Lillard.
You can watch every Washington Wizards game on Comcast Sportsnet. So I want you to watch some of that tonight. Hey, B. Davis said today.
Acts like I don't watch the Wizards.
B. Davis said Kyrie Irving is a top 5 point guard still.
Don't ruin Kyrie's moment, man. Just let Kyrie be good. He's not a top 5 point guard.
I told him that, and people need to stop sleeping on Mike Conley. That's the last thing I'm gonna say.
Well, Mike Conley's not a top 5 point guard either. I would take Kyrie over
6 or 7.
I would take Kyrie over Mike Conley.
As I said, he's 6 or 7.
That's fine. I'm still taking Kyrie over him though.
Good luck.
I'm actually supporting Kyrie now. All right, that's it for this week's basketball hour. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Numbers.
I'm Mitch.
See you all next week.
Peace.
It's the best feeling in the world to have somebody you love and you care for. Someone you go out of your way and don't mind to be there for. I'm gonna be gentle, I'm gonna be careful.